a city like that, a picture of a city like that, I can't introduce this as being a grade, but with hard facts, and also when talking about the temperature that we had today, the simple answer for Essen would be it's too warm for the beginning of November. And well, being German, I haven't switched on my central heating yet, which is odd for beginning of November. So we have a topic here, and the topic is climate change. And next to climate change, there's of course other topics like urbanization, which are, well, good for us being in the value chain of iron and steel because it drives the demand of steel. But on the other hand, we're also further cannibalizing our natural resources, which are there plenty when we talk about iron ore, but probably not in the right quality and grade as we need it. So the main question for us as Metso Outotec, we're, as said, busy in the raw material side, from supporting miners with mining equipment, all the way over pelletizing, sintering, direct reduction and smelting. So that's our value chain that we represent. So the main question for us is how can that be sustainable? When talking about raw material side, we're talking about concentrates, and we're talking about a lot of comminution and grinding. And now the figure here is that 5% of the world's energy consumption is used in grinding mills, and that's a hell of a lot. Those 5% that, well, needs to come to the grinding mills, and they are usually not placed in the big cities or where you produce the green energy, but they're located in very remote areas. So the power grid challenge is definitely something we will be need to looking into. Truth be told, as said, I'm German, I can't be fun. So iron and steel industry, we all know that, but it's the biggest CO2 emitter in the entire metals industry. So it's a community that has realized that. It's a community that is now going for the green steel transition, and that is something, well, that all interests us. That's why we're here today. So couple of numbers. How does the industry look like today? Well, 2019-20 numbers, and how is it predicted to be in 2050? Now, the good news is, as said, through drivers like urbanization, further growth in the world, well, the global steel production is supposed to, or predicted to, grow over the next decades. Well, that's good news. Bad news is, well, how do we then, even with that growth, how do we make the whole steel industry green? There, what experts are saying, scrap will be, well, playing a more dominant role in secondary steel making. And also here, due to the fact that steel has a very, very long lifetime, about 40 years, the prediction is that, for instance, scrap coming from China, which was produced over the last decades, will only be made available 2030 onwards. And that is where we then see the hike from 400 million ton to 900 million ton availability in 2050. So it'll cover approximately 40–45% possibly of the steel demand that we have. Now the rest still needs to come through primary steel routes, and as said, this is predictions taken from various sources, World Steel and the such. So they are not prophecies; they're predictions. Now the rest, the world of steel is looking at DR production currently, and the prediction is that, well, it almost doubles over the next decades. On the other hand, for shaft furnace DR production, you need DR grade pellets. They have a certain specification, 67.5% Fe content, and a minimum silica alumina at 1.5%. That's a sort of range that Fast Markets is currently proposing as an index standard. Now, the availability on the world market of those pellets, they are currently, well, limited to 43 million. And the prediction is that the growth will only achieve somewhere 90 to 120 million tons, mainly due to the fact that the high-grade iron ore that we require is and remains a scarce resource. And when we look at the world around us, we just took away 2 countries which have such high-grade iron ore, Russia and Ukraine, more or less from the world market. And there were many projects ongoing in order to capture this high-grade material, which are now, for obvious reasons, being put on hold. And when we also then look at the time that it requires in order to develop a new mine and new mining resources, well, we should have started developing that like 15 years ago in order to have them online in any time soon. So there will not be this hike in having high-grade iron ore available in the future. What can we do? And obviously we're not helpless. We can do something. So the most important topic from our point of view is to be pragmatic in the first place. And we're not alone with that view. Also, when you look at the World Steel Association, they also have defined that there will be 3 steps. One is to decarbonize whatever you have to the maximum extent possible. So that's a good approach. Second step is utilize scrap to the maximum extent possible. And we've been talking about more and more scrap will be made available or will become available, but it will remain a scarce resource, and well, the availability will not necessarily be there where you then need the new steel, but that's definitely a good approach. And the third step, what they're saying, and this is also depicted here from our point of view, well, you have to invest into breakthrough technologies. And those breakthrough technologies, they need to be as carbon free as possible from the first place, and that's also in line with what Anuka stated earlier, that, well, don't cut the consumption, but make sure that whatever you produce is as green as possible. And then thereby hydrogen obviously plays a vital role. So replacing all the energy that we're using, electrical energy, by green electricity imposes huge challenges on the infrastructure. How can we actually transport the green electricity that we're capable to produce to the places where we need it? Cold bonding has been a topic for many years now, and Vale has, well, supposedly now found a breakthrough. So that's a good sign, because it is a new development, it's a new technology, and it's a way forward as well. Well, we are monitoring, of course, and where we're seeing that the technology needs to be tested and tried is, well, how does it withstand transportation? How does it withstand the also the charge pressure in blast furnace, for instance? That remains to be seen. From our point of view, and that's what I try to focus on, pellets will remain crucial also in future, because they are the proven well, transportation good. You said it, that shortage, well, was there, and especially well, when closing down Samarco and Vale production plants, that shortage, well, increased even over the years. Nevertheless, we're seeing in Europe currently about 12 DRI projects emerging. So everyone is thinking that there must be pellets. And well, from my, as I read it, it is the availability of the concentrates.